Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Just allowing a few more minutes here as people continue to come in. We'll start shortly. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Let's get started. Want to real quick just so you're able to put a face behind the name. My name is Jordan Bunster. I work with Demand-Driven Technologies. I'm a client partner here with them. Work with our sales and implementation teams, helping clients around the globe with their supply chain transformation, especially in the materials planning area, sales and operations planning, as well as production scheduling. With me, I have Brittany Beta as well, one of our account executives, who will be helping me with a Q&A session towards the end. Okay. So again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are. Excited to be here. Thank you for being with us. Just wanted to review some housekeeping items. Everybody's currently on listen only mode. So any questions that you have, I asked you to please use the chat function as we have the Q&A section towards the end. And we are recording today's session, and we'll provide you a recording after the webinar as well. So the topic here that I wanted to start with, we continue to hear this concept from many supply chain leaders around the world with whom we engage about the failures that their systems are experiencing, and they're not able to execute the way they thought they would be able to do so, right? And as we talk with different IT leaders and supply chain leaders and business leaders as well into what's happening, is they tell us this concept of, they tell us, Jordan, the idea is that some of the ERP systems that first appeared in the late 80s and the beginning of the 90s really had this idea of trying to provide this enterprise-wide interfunctional idea of coordination and integration, right? So then when they appeared back then, they promised to be this efficient answer for medium, large enterprises looking for this idea of centralized control. Because at that time, some of you might recall the terminology of islands of automation, right? I mean, enterprises used a lot of software applications for each business function that had internal developers coding custom solutions. So business were not really they were not doing things that were strong to their core. So the original promise of bridging island of automation was about improving efficiencies in the company, ultimately resulting in a much higher return on investment for the overall company. But when we look at it, I think this is a slide that we shared internally here recently, based on the U.S. Federal Reserve of St. Louis, and we look at the inventory to sales ratios that U.S. manufacturing has experienced. We asked ourselves, after millions and millions of dollars invested into ERP implementations and systems, etc., did we move the needle, right? And if we look at it, we really didn't. I mean, we were looking at a period of 30 years ago into about 1.5 months worth of inventory to sales, and now we're back trending just about the same amount again. So what has really happened, right? And we see that the primary planning tool still being used today is Excel. We see companies using outside tools that everybody has their own way to do something in order to augment ERP functionality. So as these tools were implemented 30 years ago, they really had a hard time and trouble adapting to the digitally interconnected world that we're now familiar with. So how do we go about that? What were the challenges that were presented with these? And talking again with IT leaders and business leaders, they tell us, Jordan, the cost to purchase and integrate, right? I mean, I have to deal with IT staffing. We're talking about multi-year, 5-year implementation projects with very high risks as well towards to our operations. Also, this idea of a single solution for everyone, let's be honest, it doesn't provide the best user interface and user experience. I mean, when you look at the shop floor, the tools that the people need at the shop floor and that a supply chain planner might use are different, and they should communicate differently to each of that user. the concept of innovation cadence as well, right? I mean, as you implement something and you're now tied to the cadence of a single solution that might impact your entire enterprise, it becomes more of a challenge into am I getting the latest functionality available to deal with the challenges that I have in the world present today. And then we thought that the idea was to provide control, but at what cost, right? I mean, you provide a control that you are now forcing different teams to use the wrong solution for them, and then they are now going outside of the system to get back that control that they need to perform their job well. And more of IT executives and business leaders continue to look for, I'm fully of the belief that I need to look and migrate towards this concept of a best of breed tool that does the best job possible for my function in my department. And I focus on the integration. Why is that? Well, I think they're able to provide a much more controlled deployment plans, a much tighter scope around a certain implementation. And we've been proving that very well with all of our clients around the world. I mean, I think our solution here, based on demand-driven principles, shows that we're able to return a significant amount of return back to clients within a period of 4 to 6 months after implementation. And here's an example of a very lean automotive environment where we started implementation around 26 days worth of inventory days, and in about a period of 4 months, we reduced that ratio in about 50%, right? And why? It's because we built our system where people are able to rely to let the system do the work. And how do we do that? And we internally here, we use this context, the metaphor of an autopilot, right? That's very close to my heart because my uncle was a 747 pilot for many years, and I ran this metaphor by him as well, and he got a kick out of it. But it's funny how it's interesting, right? I mean, every day around us, around the world, we're always trusting our lives to technology and transporting people. So when you look at an airline or a pilot as they're flying across the Atlantic, I'm originally from Brazil, right? So I know that when I'm flying to Brazil to visit family, the pilot is really not flying the plane. Instead, he's trusting the model that was built, and he's only intervening at the right times to make the right corrections. So you're moving towards this idea of a management by exception. So why is it, right? I mean, we're able to trust our lives to those things, yet with inventory planning, we still don't trust the systems. I mean, I've been a planner before. I know what it's like to be in the hot seat. We planners get blamed. So why is it that we don't trust and we have to augment with external tools, right? So the idea we had here at DD Tech was, imagine if we could have the supply chains being managed the same way, where we're able to set that confidence in the overall direction by providing and building a good inventory model that's easily understandable throughout the organization. And yet you still continue to move your team towards management by exception, and it alerts you only when adjustments are necessary. So it moves away from the firefighting mode and lets management focus on key issues. Well, and this is where demand-driven technologies comes in. I mean, we are a group of supply chain practitioners truly focused on helping our clients achieve tangible and sustainable results. And we've done that time and time again, providing dramatic improvements in order fill rates, lead times, and reduced inventory. A little bit about the company. We were founded back in 2011. We continue to be the global leader across the demand-driven enterprise. First to market with a suite of demand-driven solutions, fully accredited by the Demand-Driven Institute. We've grown now to be 3 offices around the world, development center in the West Coast of the United States, and we have our European offices in Bordeaux. And I myself am located here at the headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. It's been a phenomenal track record. It's been a lot of fun, right? I mean, we're now dealing with over 100 clients. In multiple industries. We're approaching 3 million parts being managed in our systems, close to 5 million bills of materials in our systems at different levels of complexity, close to 2,000 locations. And we're truly building this community of users as we approach the milestone here of 4,000 users in our tool. And what's more fun about it is just the different types of industries that we're able to deliver value to. As we think through it, people ask me all the time, and I love this slide precisely because of this question. It's like, what type of business do you help? I was like, well, let me show you this slide. I mean, we are helping some of the biggest brands in the world, as you can see here, in areas from industrial to packaging, from food and beverage to electronics. Why is it that we continue to make wins here? Well, we really focus on winning on metrics that matter the most, right? I mean, we look and talk to you, and we talk to our clients to understand really their business challenges. Is it speed? Let's talk about lead time compression. What can lead time do for you? What does compression lead time can do for you in terms of enabling you to achieve better competitive advantage? What about your service levels? And what if I could tell you that I could improve service levels, compress lead times, yet provide inventory reduction? How is your finance team going to feel about unleashing that working capital and deploy that working capital for more effectively as well? And you might ask me, Jordan, how do you get such wins? What's going on, right? And I think time and time again, as we go into clients and we see, is the reality is that this is the environment in which we face. We see that MRP, material requirements planning, continues to be the primary planning logic used in all major ERP solutions. I mean, it is what it is. But we found that although it was introduced in the early 70s, it really has not evolved. I mean, MRP was available since the 50s, codified in the 60s, commercialized in the 70s. It got to that concept of providing you with time phase planning, bomb explosion, dependent demand planning, and offered some of the benefits of component synchronization, inventory reduction, and improved priorities. Yet, it has not delivered given some of the challenges that we have in today's world. Well, why is that? So most companies are still using for their planning requirements inaccurate forecasts. So you start with a flawed demand signal at the top, and as you explode it through your demand plan, your master production schedule, ultimately driving down the material requirements planning, you are planning certain materials based on something you know that will be incorrect. So by the time you're able to reconcile, it's too late, right? So you get into this, what we call a bimodal inventory distribution, where you're suddenly getting too much of the wrong, too little of the right. And again, I've been a planner before, so I know that this is where the firefighting happens. So what do I do as a planner? Well, this is a cumbersome system. It doesn't work. So I'm going to utilize something outside of it to augment it, right? And then I'm no longer using the system because I don't trust it. Well, so this is where the concept of the demand-driven MRP comes in. And this is how we are able to win such great wins with a lot of our clients. What is it? Demand-driven MRP, new approach to materials planning, launched back in 2011. And it's a fusion of principles like MRP, lean, theory of constraints, and distribution requirements planning. The whole goal of demand-driven MRP is to provide that stabilization of your environment, right? We want to avoid missing parts and incomplete orders. We focus a lot about providing lead time compression in order to promote material flow. How is it different? I mean, let's look again, let's compare and contrast here. Forecast-driven planning, right? I mean, you're using a forecast, a flawed signal, to then generate planned orders. But in reality, when you have forecast error associated with those, suddenly you're trying to reconcile and you start having misalignments between the inventory that you needed and what you actually ended up with. And we move our clients a little bit more towards this method of consumption-driven planning, where we utilize a sales order as the actual demand signal to trigger certain replenishment orders upstream. So that's not to say we throw away the forecast. We still use the forecast to help us a little bit about sizing and have a longer term vision. But on the tactical horizon, as we're trying to trigger the right supply orders, we're now moving to a qualified demand signal, which is our sales orders. And well, how are we able to shorten those horizons, right? I mean, this is where the real simple, straightforward, and beautiful logic of demand-driven MRP comes in. And this is based on the concept of a buffer, right? And a buffer here is this commitment to hold inventory of a given item. The buffer setup is very important, and we spend a lot of time with our clients analyzing what is the right buffer for you. The buffer is, as you can see right away, it's a very visual tool. It tells you it's comprised of 3 zones here. The yellow zone being it's sized to cover your usage over lead time. The red zone addresses item variability, and the green zone is sized to support usually your minimum order quantities. So why does that help us? Well, DDMRP provides And these buffers provide you a visual way of understanding what's going on with your part and inventory. And in a little bit, I'll show you that in the tool as well. So let me add some things here. Great. So as we can see, I know that the yellow zone size for demand over lead time, this will change. So I can see periods in which I had higher demand than others, as well as the red zone changing in sizes, allow me to view variability over a certain time horizon and understand what's driving the impact in inventory behind these items. And we trigger supply order generation based on this concept of net flow, right? The net flow equation is one of the innovations of demand-driven MRP. The net flow equation is on-hand inventory plus open supply minus sales orders, certain qualified spikes, which are sales orders that are large enough that can put the buffer in jeopardy. It gives me my net flow position. And what I do is, me as a planner, I know that as my net flow approaches this yellow zone, I order back up to top of green. And why is this useful? If you think about it, through multiple simulations, I'm able to calculate a lot of things very quickly here via a demand-driven buffer, but also as well understand the variability within an item and different periods of usage. Well, again, the setting up the buffer is all about these 5 components, and we spend a lot of time on this with our clients, right? It's all about how do we define the right position for inventory, how do we place decoupling points so we can minimize some of that bullwhip effect in the chain. We then set certain buffer profiles, and a buffer profile are items with like demand variability, and then we provide dynamic adjustments to make sure that the buffer is behaving. So the flexibility that you saw in the buffer moving up and down, this is that step here. And then we move on to planning and this concept of collaborative execution as well, which I'll be showing you in the software shortly. We focus on, we provide 3 different solutions to our clients: materials planning, which is what we're focused on today, the sales and operations planning tool called our advanced planning module, and then our scheduling and execution DBR Plus. And our technology, we take security seriously here at DD Tech. I mean, we have become SOC 2 compliant. We're scalable, we're secure, we're able to integrate easily, and we meet the stringent security requirements that our enterprise clients have on us. We continue to integrate more and more with more ERPs. The majority of our clients are SAP clients. We have dedicated connectors to these ERPs you see listed here, allowing us to deploy quickly within a matter of months, 3 to 4 months. We are usually able to do a go live with our clients, significantly reducing the amount of IT resources needed from the client's end as well. And you might ask me, right, Jordan, this sounds great, but really what are users saying about demand-driven MRP? Well, don't take my word for it. We have case studies. I recommend you to check out our website for the case studies. I'll be happy to share them with you as well. And then we also have the Demand-Driven Institute website that provides a lot of additional research as well. But in reality, users are excited about it. Why? Because it has a methodology, right? There are rules, there's a discipline, and a set of procedures for you to follow. It's clear. I mean, this is huge. It's not a black box. We believe in simplicity. We provide visibility and accessibility to the processes. It's easy to interpret. It's easy to figure it out. We like it. It's good. Your planner feels comfortable making a decision. It's intuitive. You feel it's true. And it's also consistent. It sticks to the same principles and it grows with you. And here you can see some of the documented case study we had with a client and the impacts we had, as well with another client here. With that said, I'd like to jump in and move on to a demo of Replenishment Plus. Great. So today what I'd like to show you is that I'd like to walk you through a day in the life of a planner, right? I'm going to take the role of Frank. Today I'll be Frank, the planner, at my location plant. I'm logged in here into Replenishment Plus. This is a materials planning solution hosted in the cloud, built on Microsoft Azure, translated into 15 different languages. Today I'll be doing it in English. And right away, what you see is a very nice, clean interface available for the planner. And I want you to have the mindset of, as you think through your planning teams, think about it, what I'm about to show you, and the amount of information that we're going to cover, and how quickly we flow through that information. How long would it take for you to do in your current system, right? Is the user experience that you're about to see in the interface similar to what your planning team has? If not, let's see here. So upon logging into Replenishment Plus, I'm given this dashboard view here. So from left to right, going back to the concept of the buffer, right? I start first with my planning priorities that tell me items in the red zone are more important. Items in the yellow have recommended orders. And then it tells me that I have 8 items in the green zone, no action needed here. And it has 3 items over top of green. Items in the yellow and red will have recommended order quantities because their net flow line is in the yellow zone or lower. And what we see here right away is the concept of, when we start an implementation with a client, we see the whole concept of a bimodal inventory distribution, where we see many items being in critical, and also in certain implementations, over half of the items being over top of green. So these are areas of opportunity for inventory reduction right away, delaying some orders, etc., and improving some of the working capital about to be deployed. Then I see some execution alerts related to inventory statuses and the impacts it can have on my material buffers. And then here on the right, I can see some site status, which is about selling more technical information about when's the last time I received information via the ERP interface. How often are the systems communicating with each other? So the goal is to go from left to right, right? So today I'll start here, looking at my planning priorities and see what I need to do. I would jump straight into my workbench. And me, as Frank the planner, these are my priorities that I need to work on today. So right away, I know that items in the red or yellow, you can see that they have reorder quantities tied to them. And I have a lot of the master data information that I bring from the ERP system available for me here as well. So most planners like information, planners like speed, be able to make sure that they're making the right decision. So we try to provide this easily for them, no needs for different drill downs of menu, transacting between screens, etc. So today, I'd like to look at 2 parts. First, we'll look into a purchase component. So we're going to look here into PPJ, Purchase Part J, Allocation Plant. Here in the top part of the workbench in this grid, I see that I'm at a critical priority and the buffer status being at 13% of the buffer. I'm being asked to reorder a quantity of 96, right? And let's understand why. So I'm going to expand here in the bottom, and we can see that for PPJ, this all activity window here tells me everything related to supply and demand related to this item. So as of today, I have an inventory of 45. Items in red are contributing to the net flow equation, which are certain demands. Items with this deep red highlight are items that are large enough and they're spikes. So they're within 1 lead time of the item, and they might put my buffer in jeopardy as well. So we consider those into the net flow equation. And items in blue are open supply orders that we have coming for us. So with that said, an inventory on hand of 45 plus 75 minus 106 gives me that net flow equation of 14. And we'll look into the buffer in a little bit. Looking into the part properties here, we can see all the items, all the right data attributes that we're able to bring from your ERP system, 16 user-defined fields, all the inventory management policies that you have set. Very important to note there that all the buffers will respect the inventory parameters you have set in regards to certain MOQs, minimum and maximums and multiples as well. And I'd like to show you here the buffer sizing for this item. So this is an item that's buffered. I know that my red zone is 30 units, yellow is 60, and green is 20. I have an expected average inventory of 40. Expected average inventory being calculated as the red zone plus half of the green zone. And given the open demand and supply orders that I have, I find myself in a net flow position of 14. So Once I feel comfortable here, I understand why is the system making this recommendation. Well, let's look at it, right? I have a daily usage of 6, an effective lead time of 10 days. So I know my yellow zone will be 60. I understand that I have certain supplier orders for 75, these demand allocations. My net flow is in the yellow, in the red zone, and it's actually a little under 50% of the red zone. Therefore, I'm really at a critical priority here. Why did this item get to critical, right? I mean, if we look into the whole concept of a buffer, ideally I should have ordered this back when it reached into the yellow zone. So the planner is also able to view how has this buffer behaved in the past. So switching here to the analytics view, looking at the last 6 months, this is what I meant about a very visible system, right? I can tell that back in August of 2020, I had much higher levels. My buffer was at higher levels, indicating that I had a higher demand here due to the size of the yellow zone. Then demand came back down and it stabilized around here. So me as a planner, I'd like to know, am I acting correctly, right? So I can enable this net flow line here and understand that, you know, overall, this item here, every time I got into the yellow zone, I ordered back up to top of green. So I did well from a planning point. In an inventory quantity, what happened to this item? Well, when I had this big decrease here in demand, I could see that my inventory line got a little bit high, but overall the buffer is being recalculated every day, and the reorder points as well are being recalculated. Therefore, my inventory stabilized around this area. Think about that. The majority of safety stock and reorder points that we encounter with clients tend to be static. So this idea of daily recalculation and acting close to the demand, imagine the opportunities you can have for improvement within your environment. Okay. Well, so here, once I feel comfortable with the idea of, I understand what's going on with this item, I understand that these demand allocations here, I have certain spikes that are making my net flow be much deeper in the red zone, ultimately resulting in giving me a critical priority. I like to release an order for this item. I click through, I approve the order. I can do the same for multiple orders as well. They move to the pending orders table, which then are interfaced back and forth with your ERP solution as well. As planners become more comfortable and they understand the methodology, they will approve orders en masse as well. So you can do certain quick actions here to approve all medium priority orders with the end goal of moving away from, with the end goal of clearing all your planning priorities here. And I'm now at 0 critical items, and I can move on to high, then medium, and ultimately with the goal of getting to over top of green. Okay, so that's the example of approving an order for a purchase part, right? And a lot of clients ask, well, Jordan, look, I have bills of materials. I'm very intrigued about the decoupling point, the effect it can have on inventory. Can you show me that? And absolutely. Next in line, I like to look at this item right here, FPA, finished product A. Right now, our plus is telling me that FPA is currently in a medium priority with 66% of its buffer. I'm being asked to reorder 84 units, right? And again, as I go through the exercise, I'm able to see that I have 130 units here. I have 2 supply orders, no demand allocation. I'm in a net flow of 202. Going to part properties, I'm able to understand the demand profile of the item, the lead times being involved. I can go to buffer sizing. See here, I have a small green zone. I have a high yellow zone because of the lead time, and right away I'm able to get to this expected average inventory number here, right? Which tells me this is in average I will hold around 86 units worth of stock. So this item right here has a raw materials cost of $1,000 per unit. Expected average inventory of 86. Therefore, I'm holding, on average, I will be holding $86,000 in inventory. As I look through the bill of materials of the item, you know, we try to make the bills of materials be a graphical representation. It's just easier for a planner to see it as well. As you expand through it, right away you can see how we have everything tied up into our plus. the different relationships of subcomponents and parent items as well. There are certain legends that tell you if the item is buffered or not, which would be buffered item would not be contributing to the overall lead time, as well as potential opportunities for decoupling, right? And this is the item here circled in black, which would be your longest leg. What do I mean by that? So let's look at FBA and let's go down one level on the bill of material. Here at FBA, I know that I have a 35-day lead time for this item, a decouple lead time. Well, why is that? I have 10 days worth of production time, but in reality, in order to make FBA, I need a unit of PPA, a unit of SAE, and 1 unit of SAF. With PPA, I have to wait 25 days to it. So this item right now, the software identifies for me that this is the longest leg in your bill of material, impacting you in the overall lead time of FBA. So I, as a planner, would make the question here is like, what would happen here? What's my impact, right? I mean, if I were to take the strategic decision to hold inventory of PPA, what impact can I provide for my organization? Well, let's go back and revisit the buffer here and understand that right now, the way the bill of material is set up, we are going to hold 86 units in inventory, $1,000 a piece, $86,000. So I'm going to make the decision here of making PPA a buffered item, okay? I will navigate here to our part editor. I'm looking at PPA, allocation plant. I can tell right now this is a non-buffered item. As I go into details, I have all the item master attributes that I'm bringing in from the ERP system or from that are being also maintained in R+. I will go into edit, and I'm going to make the decision of assigning this buffer profile here. Let's pick this guy. And right away, you can see that the system calculates the buffer size that you would expect for this item. As I save this, R+ will run again. Different jobs will run, different calculations as well. And I'll be notified here that the current view is out of date, and I can click here to update. Before I update, notice that FBA is currently at a medium priority, right? As I refresh this, you'll see FBA has now moved on to an over top of green. Why is that? Well, by me buffering PPA, that lead time of the item PPA is no longer impacting the average stock position of FBA. So I went from 35 days down to 14 days by holding inventory, by making the decision to hold inventory in PPA. So over a 50% lead time reduction there available for you. And when you look into the impact by holding PPA, I think over the overall net impact of holding a little bit of PPA to reduce lead time on FBA, we're looking at around a 40% inventory, 40% inventory reduction in terms of value. Okay. And here you can see how the system recalculated this for you as well. Well, and once again, as I feel more comfortable and I continue to approve orders, I can take a quick action here and approve all orders. And I'm now completed my job as a planner, right? So when I go back to the dashboard, I'm able to see that my planning priorities are now 0 in the actionable zones that I need. So nothing in the yellow zone, nothing in the red zone, and nothing in the deep red zone as well. I have low. My planners can now focus on items here that are over top of green and establish actions that need to be taken in order to provide potential inventory reductions for the company as well. After planning priorities, we usually tell planners, let's focus on execution alerts. And alerts are about making sure that the buffers are not going to be compromised, right? So in demand-driven MRP, we'll categorize the alerts into current inventory, material synchronization alerts, and projected stockouts. What are these? A current inventory alert is similar to a stockout alert where you're being told that you have an issue here where you have past due demand, but you don't have enough inventory to fulfill it with the buffer. A material synchronization alert alerts you that you have some sort of issue with supply and demand, right? I mean, maybe my PO is coming in 5 days later than when demand is supposed to be fulfilled. What do I need to do? And the projected stock out is a calculation based saying that if the average daily usage were to be fulfilled in a certain period of time, you will then find yourself in a potential stock out situation. Well, look, it's a lot of functionality in the software. I mean, deep functionality as far as user and roles permission, site administration, different areas of way for you to set up buffer profiles in the system and assign items like demand patterns to a buffer. Stock deployment modules available, sales and operations module. I could spend a lot of time going through each of these. I'd love to schedule time with you as well. But I think for that right now is all I have on the software side. And I'd like to come back a little bit here to Brittany on the questions.
Yeah, sure. Jordan, one of the things that was asked is, where is the lead time captured?
Yeah, great question. So we ask the clients to make sure that the lead time is captured in their ERP system as the system of record. We do offer the option for the lead time to be maintained in our plus, but we prefer that the ERP be the system of record for that information.
Great. And then what about, can you implement Replenishment Plus and an ERP system at the same time?
Yep. Yeah, so a lot of our clients are in this step of their digital transformation, Brittany. So some of the questions we ask is, hey, look, Jordan, I'm interested in Replenishment Plus, but I'm worried that I'm tackling on this ERP system right now. Should we wait or should we do it together? So we help our clients through that process as well, and making sure that our connectors are rightly established, and we do the co-integration together with our project timeline for their ERP implementation.
Awesome. Then what about, how many users can you have on Replenishment Plus?
So we do not charge on a user basis. So the idea is that we really believe in enabling clients to set up this collaborative environment to be able to have as many users as possible, internal and external. So that way they can grow in this collaborative method of materials planning.
Awesome. And then let's see, I think there's a few personal questions or customized questions that we can respond to individually. So let's look at this last one of, how do I know that my company is a good fit for DDMRP?
That's a great question, Brittany. Look, it leads me right away into, I'll tie it a little bit with the topic of education. We offer all of our clients, we are big fans of delivering, like I said, sustainable, tangible results. So we try to make sure that while we're engaging clients in a demand-driven MRP implementation, we offer a lot of simulations. So we do a lot of work at no cost to the client to make sure that they feel comfortable understanding the methodology, understanding the model that we're proposing to build for them, so they get to that point where they're ready for the next step. A lot of times clients engage with us, they want a demo, we'll demo the software. They will then say, I'd like to see my own data on it. So we'll tailor a demos to them with their data. And as well, we'll continue to build a simulation for them. And what a simulation consists of is that we take a family of items that they like to simulate. They provide me with the demand. They provide us with the demand for those items for a certain period of time. We're able to simulate thousands of items at the same time. And we're able to say, what would have happened to these items had you been under a demand-driven operating model environment, right? I mean, would we be able to have saved you in a certain family, at a certain location? How does this work? And we have this dynamic conversation with the client, understanding it's like, what happened here? This is how DDMRP would have worked for you. And we then move to, if the client's satisfied with that, we work with them on building a proof of concept, right? I mean, moving on to the next stage. Okay, let's talk about a proof of concept, eventually a pilot, and eventually implementation. The goal is to make sure that the client feels comfortable at each step of the process to be able to do this full rollout in their environment.
Awesome. Jordan, we had a few more questions come in. I know that we still have a few minutes, so I'd like to go back to them. What is needed when you're pulling the data from your ERP system over to Replenishment Plus besides lead time?
Great question. So any item related to the part properties, for example, order minimums, order multiples, order maximums, the vendor, cost is beneficial as it allows us to provide analysis on it. And we have a dedicated integrations team as well, Brittany, that works with all the clients, right? To make sure that we're pulling the right data, we know how to connect, we extract, and we have certain file formats available as well, where we work with the clients in different sessions to make sure that we're extracting the right information. But the most important would be definitely your inventories, open demands, open supplies, lead times, as we mentioned, and any type of inventory parameters like minimum, multiple, and maximum.
Awesome. And then I think we'll reach out to a few people here individually. One of the last questions, and then I think we can wrap up for today, is does Replenishment Plus require the ERP system in place, or could it be used as a standalone?
Yeah, good question. So we are a bolt-on to a client's ERP, right? I mean, to provide this demand-driven planning functionality. It would not be a standalone solution. The ERP would still be the system of record for the company.
Awesome. And if you have more questions, please feel free to reach out to Jordan. We will be following up as well with a few of these individual questions. And Jordan, I will turn it back over to you to wrap up here today.
Thanks, Brittany. Look, I know we covered a lot of information today. We kind of went fast through it, but I'd like to invite you, to learn more about the methodology and about demand-driven technologies as well. We have a team of instructors available that can help train and qualify you, your company, in helping to learn the methodology. The first things I always recommend to clients is join us in the flow simulation game, right? I mean, it's an overview of all the demand-driven material requirements, followed by 2 simulations. Right now it's being held online. I don't know, Brittany, do you know if we have one scheduled right now?
I'm not sure. I know that we try to schedule them pretty frequently, and then we advertise them on our website as well as LinkedIn for the flow simulation games.
Yeah, the next one's March 10th.
Okay, so next one's March 10th. Make sure to everybody sign up here. We'll get a notification on the flow simulation game if it's something you'd like to sign up. Also, if you're interested in becoming certified, look into the Demand-Driven Planner program, the Demand-Driven Leader program, and different adaptive S&OP, and also the implementation support pack. We can guide you through our network of instructors and also guide you through the Demand-Driven Institute website as well. Well, with that, again, thank you for your time. It was a little bit shorter, but I want to be respectful of your time as well. I'd be honored of an opportunity to show you the impact and value we can deliver to your company, by implementing these demand-driven models. So reach out to me. Let's have a conversation on how we can do a simulation. Love to, again, no cost to you, and you get to see the tremendous value that you can have by implementing DDMRP in your company. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Stay healthy, as we continue to fight the global pandemic. Thank you.